have learned to always value justice, compassion, and love. COVID-19 changed everything for us, and this past year and a half will be remembered in history as one of the most difficult times that humanity has ever faced. However, it will also be remembered as a time where we learn to value the little things in life that maybe we used to take for granted, like a hug from a friend or a day at school. And it will be remembered as a time where we came together and cherished each person who contributed to making the situation at least a little bit easier on all of us. To those frontline workers risking their lives out there every day for others, thank you for your resilience, for your hard work, and for your sacrifice. To those at home, alone, struggling to keep their mental health intact, I see you. I'm here for you, and hang on just a little bit longer because we're almost at the end of this, and the world would not be the same place without you in it. And to everyone, let's continue to stay safe, strive for peace, have hope, and be united. These are all things that I would advocate for if I become your next Miss Grand Canada. We are all one, and no matter how hard this has been, I know that together we will build a better world where empathy is at our forefront, respect is our priority, and love is on our side. Thank you.
Hostility, combat, and war. These are words that many people are used to hearing in their daily lives. These innocent people wake up and go to sleep in fear, not knowing if they will have tomorrows. Why is it so easy for us to hate and judge the things that we don't even try to understand? 230 innocent civilians were recently killed in Gaza due to the war between Israel and Palestine. 60 of those lives lost were children. 215 Indigenous youth were found buried at a residential school in our own country, died just because they were different. We as peacekeepers have a job to set good examples for others. What is this hate and acts of war teaching our children? We have the ability to teach acceptance and love, but that journey must first start within ourselves. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "It isn't enough to talk about peace. We must believe in it. And it isn't enough to believe in it. We must work at it. We must use our voices to speak and our ears to listen so that we can help those who are struggling around us." So I ask all of those of you who are here listening to me tonight to please join me in being the voices of change and hearts of acceptance that our world so terribly needs right now, so that we can change the words hostility, combat, and war to harmony, kindness, and peace. Thank you.
Saying that says, alone we go faster, together we go further. If you gave me the choice, I would choose to go further. I think the strength of our Canadian culture lays between our differences. We need to embrace those differences because that's what set us apart as a nation. However, diversity is not only about differences, but how we embrace our uniqueness. As a human resources advisor, I fight daily to make the workplace a more safe and fair environment for all, no matter their gender, their skin color, or their religious belief. I want to make job opportunity more accessible for each and every one of us. I am proud of Canada for the progress we have made towards our vision to reach unity. However, I think we still have work to do to reach harmony As for example, we take the event that happened in British Columbia or Ontario recently. If I became Miss Grand Canada, it would be my mission to educate the youth and society in general on this matter. We, as society, need to celebrate our differences. We, as Canadians, need to be leaders in acceptance of those differences because that's what made Canada one of the best countries in the world. Seuls, nous allons plus vite. Ensemble, nous allons plus loin.
What if your freedom and human rights were suddenly taken away from you? This is the reality that people face every day around the world due to war and violence. Over 20 years ago, this was my family's reality when a civil war broke out in ex-Yugoslavia. My family's life as they knew it was put on hold for 10 years. My mother, who lost her own child and worked as a doctor, witnessed firsthand the horror and pain of war, like when a room full of 9 premature babies all died because they didn't have access to oxygen. They were denied their right to health. War tore my family apart. War made them starve. War destroyed their homes. And war does not have a solution. We must raise our children with love and compassion to end all forms of violence and war everywhere, because war was not the solution then, and it is not the solution today. Love and compassion is the answer. War is not. We must stop war from repeating itself, because history has just been repeating itself constantly. And one life lost due to war is too many lives lost. Thank you.
Past year and a half, the people of Canada, along with the rest of the world, have been fighting towards the control, prevention, and eradication of the COVID-19 virus. We have been united in our struggle against this common enemy that has affected the lives of each and every one of us in some way or another. In the face of such unexpected circumstances, it is easy to take note of the way that your life has changed, the ways that you have had to adjust to a new normal. I'm speaking to you today to ask you to do something that is not as easy, to acknowledge the potential privilege you may hold that comes with having the option to adapt to this new way of living. During this pandemic, have you been able to work from home? Have you purchased personal protective equipment such as masks, hand sanitizer, or gloves? Followed preventative measures like social distancing, staying at home, and refraining from celebrating holidays with friends and family? Have you provided a space for your child to participate in remote learning? Across our country, there are hundreds of children and youth who simply do not have the access to a safe space or the required technology for remote learning. There are thousands of immunocompromised and elderly members of our communities who rely on those around them to keep them safe and healthy. And there are millions of people who have not been able to afford to stop working, even though they may be high risk or live with someone who is. And of course, there are our brave frontline workers who have risked their health day after day since the moment the virus hit Canadian soil. During these times, there is no space for lack of empathy and compassion for those who simply do not have the options that some of us are blessed with. In the same way we are united in our struggle, we must be united in our resolution, a resolution for all. Thank you.
In a time where we have never felt so isolated and far apart, there is no room for exclusion, yet it is still prominent. Recent events have shown that there is still unequal opportunities and resources in our community. But we are all human and we are bound to be different. But this is our power. as it enables us to elevate ourselves as a society. We use inclusion to strive for more because diversity is what gives us a seat at the table. Inclusion gives us a voice at the table, but a sense of belonging is when we know that we have been truly heard. Professor George Day stated that inclusion is not inviting someone into an environment that already exists. Rather, it is creating a new space, creating a better space for all. After this pandemic, we have a chance to restart. We have a chance to create a new space, to create a better space with new values and systems that incorporate all. No matter your age, no matter your race, no matter your sexual orientation, identification, or mobility levels, we are all human and we all deserve the same love and respect no matter our differences. So I challenge you. I challenge you to create those spaces in your environment. I challenge you to create bridges in your community where we are able to open the conversation with one another because we are better together. Thank you.
Comes to mind when you hear the words war and peace? Most people often think about national or global conflicts, and this discussion is very relevant as there are still so many disputes worldwide. But have you ever thought about the internal conflicts that you yourself deal with each and every day? Inflicting violence on yourself or neglecting basic self-care practices is an act of war. It is an invisible war. It is a war of self. As the ambassador of mental health for YPAM, I am saddened to say that the world is now experiencing a mental health epidemic. Individuals are experiencing feelings of loneliness, lack of motivation, negative feelings towards themselves, and some have even resolved to self-harm or suicide due to COVID-19. Prior to the pandemic, suicide was the second leading cause of death among young Canadians. So you can imagine how things have worsened immensely. Now, I don't want to leave on a grim note, as I have touched upon violence against the self. I want to leave you with more hopeful thoughts. So the other side of this discussion is peace. Just because you may not be suffering from a mental illness does not mean that you have never experienced difficulties with your mental health. So this discussion is applicable to everyone. In order to break free from this internal war and achieve peace, you need to understand what coping tools and self-care practices work best specifically for you. We must prepare ourselves and the younger generation from this invisible war that is the mental health epidemic. Reload on the ammunition you need to fight this internal battle, because to fix any problem, it starts with you.
Hi, my name is Olga Bekadorova, and I was born in Ukraine, a daughter to a Russian father and a Ukrainian mother. When I was a child, my family and I had to leave our country to escape the war between Russians and Ukrainians, the war of Donbass. I have witnessed firsthand what war can do to families and how much is sacrificed, how violent and scary it can get. Canada has welcomed my family and I with open arms. It has provided us with safety, security, and dreams. It has taught us that we're so much more alike than different, that no matter where you come from, your gender, religion, language you speak, you deserve to have rights and to be respected. And that all these differences is what makes our world so beautiful. During his speech about the Russo-Ukrainian conflict, Barack Obama said, "The world needs more Canada." And I'm the living and breathing example to attest that. It breaks my heart to see that in today's society, we still haven't eliminated war in every corner of our planet. As Miss Grand Canada, I want to share my story and to bring more light to those who need it the most. The world needs more peace, and who better than Canada to be the next ambassador of that? So let's bring more light, more love, more peace to the Miss Grand International. Kapunka.
people have you interacted with today? 10, maybe 20? Now, I want you to think about the fact that half of those people already have or will have experienced a mental illness by the age of 40. Our country is facing a mental health crisis, which I have seen working as a psychiatry resident. Since the COVID pandemic began, rates of suicidal thoughts have doubled. People are suffering, and often in silence. To anyone who is struggling, I want you to know that I have been there too. I know what it's like to be down and feel hopeless. I was once afraid to get help, but I'm so glad that I did. I graduated from medical school last year, and now, as a doctor, I'm in a position where I can help others. I want to live in a world where people can seek help without fear or shame, just as they would for any other illness. People with mental illness are often portrayed in the media as violent or unpredictable. But in reality, those with serious mental illness are 2.5 times more likely to be the victims of violence. They are made vulnerable by conditions like poverty and homelessness. If I were Miss Grand Canada 2021, it would be my mission to stop this violence. In order for that to happen, we need to start with inclusion and education. We have to have conversations about mental health, which is why I'm asking each of you watching this today to reach out to someone and talk about it. Be honest. As Brene Brown said, when we deny the story, it defines us. But when we own the story, we can write a brave new ending. Let's start writing our ending without the stigma.
So proud of you. You know what this pandemic cost you, and you still conquered. I am so proud of you. As we all know, in 2020, the world was officially under attack by a deadly virus that carried a force many of us have never seen before in our lifetime. Everything became uncertain. The future, our health, normality, toilet paper. But what was never uncertain was Canadians' unyielding willingness to show COVID-19 who's boss and to fight a good fight for your fellow neighbors. You social distanced. You volunteered your time, donated items. You protested for the lives of millions now and to come. Or every day you did your best to keep yourself healthy and sane. This was a battleground. And yeah, you came out a warrior. You made history. As your friend and as a COVID-19 survivor, I will continue to do my part to aid those negatively affected by COVID-19. I am not a healthcare professional, nor am I a frontline worker, but what I am is a proud Canadian citizen. I am alive, healthy, and able. So I will not cease to volunteer with nonprofit organizations to feed Canada. As well, I will continue to work with organizations to preserve our historical traditions and events affected by the pandemic. We may not be able to reclaim what was, but together we can rebuild and create a grand new beginning. Thank you.